What's up, everybody? This is EchoLynx. Today, we're diving into TryHackMe's Intro to Defensive Security Room. We'll cover the fundamentals of defensive security, look at the main areas within it, and finish with a hands-on example. A mock day in the life of a SOC analyst. It's a fun one. So let's jump into Task 1 gives you a quick overview of defensive security, the counterpart to offensive security. It centers on two core goals across blue team work: preventing intrusions and detecting them quickly when they happen. One thing I love about TryHackMe: if you're unsure about a term, look for the dotted tooltips. Click them for quick definitions of things like IPS, Intrusion Prevention System, SOC, Security Operations Center, and DFIR, Digital Forensics and Incident Response. Read through and make sure it all clicks. Question: which team focuses on defensive security? Answer: blue team. It's a straightforward intro. When you're done, hit submit at the bottom and you're finished with Task 1. Let's move on to Task 2 is about the different areas of defensive security, and the big one is the Security Operations Center, SOC. This is where a lot of people start on the defensive side of cybersecurity. A SOC is a team that constantly watches an organization's systems and network to spot anything suspicious. In practice, SOC analysts sit at a monitoring dashboard, usually a security tool like a SIEM, review alerts, and follow up to decide whether something is normal or actually malicious. They look out for newly discovered vulnerabilities that need patches or temporary workarounds. Policy violations like someone uploading sensitive company files to a personal cloud, unauthorized activity such as logins from unusual locations with a stolen password, and full-on intrusions. Maybe a user clicked a malicious link or a public server got exploited. When an alert looks real, the SOC confirms it, documents what happened, and responds. Things like blocking an account, isolating a machine, or escalating to the right team. Not every fix is done by the SOC. Patching might go to IT or engineering, but the SOC tracks the issue to make sure the risk is handled. There's also a day in the life section, so you can see exactly what this workflow looks like from alert to resolution. Then there's threat intelligence, basically gathering and using information about real or potential attackers so you can get ahead of them. Different companies face different enemies. A mobile carrier might worry about customer data theft, while a refinery might worry about someone trying to halt production. That could be a nation-state team with political goals or a ransomware group chasing money. Threat intel starts with data, things you already have, like network and endpoint logs, and open sources, blogs, forums, leak sites. You collect it, clean and organize it so it's usable, then analyze it to figure out who's behind the activity, what they want, and how they operate, their tactics, techniques, and procedures. The result is practical guidance that feeds a threat-informed defense. New detections in your monitoring tools, hardening steps, and clear response playbooks. It pairs tightly with the SOC too. Many people start as entry-level SOC analysts and later specialize in threat intel. And the two roles constantly share information, so alerts make more sense and attacks get stopped faster. Next up is DFIR, Digital Forensics and Incident Response, and they're paired for a reason. Think of digital forensics as the science of figuring out what happened and proving it, and incident response as the playbook for stopping the bleeding and getting back to normal. In a defensive setting, forensics isn't just about crimes. It's about analyzing evidence from attacks or issues like IP theft, cyber espionage, or possession of unauthorized content. That evidence can live in a lot of places. A low-level copy of the file system that reveals installed programs, created or deleted files, even partially overwritten ones. A snapshot of system memory when malware hides only in RAM. Host and server logs that record activity even if an attacker tries to cover their tracks, and network logs that show what moved across the wire. Malware analysis often sits alongside this, where you pull apart suspicious files or behavior to learn what the code does, how it spreads, and what indicators you can use to detect and block it next time. Incident response is the what we do right now side. An incident might be a full-on breach or DDoS, but it could also be a misconfiguration, an intrusion attempt, or a policy violation. The goal is always the same: reduce damage and recover fast. A good IR process starts with preparation, trained people, clear roles, and preventative controls. Then comes detection and analysis, spotting something unusual and figuring out how serious it is. Next is containment, eradication, and recovery. Stop it from spreading, remove the root cause, and bring systems back safely. Finally, post-incident work ties it off. Write up what happened, share lessons learned, and harden defenses so the same thing is less likely to happen again. In short, forensics tells you the what, how, and who, while incident response handles the now what, and together they close the loop. Finally, we've got malware analysis, and yeah, it's super cool. It's usually not an entry-level role. Most folks do SOC/IR first, but the idea is straightforward. Understand what the malware is, what it's doing, and how it does it. Malware just means malicious software, programs or files that move over disks or networks to cause harm. You'll run into classics like viruses, code that latches onto legit programs and spreads, sometimes corrupting or deleting files. Trojan horses, something that looks useful but secretly does something bad. Think a shady video player that gives an attacker control. And ransomware, it encrypts your files and demands payment to unlock them. To study this stuff, you've got two main approaches. Static analysis means you don't run the sample. You inspect it to learn its capabilities, and if you go deeper, you'll read assembly to see the instructions it could execute. Dynamic analysis means you run it safely in a controlled lab, a VM/sandbox, and watch what actually happens. Network calls, file changes, processes, registry edits, so you can document behavior and build detections. The best part is, it's very practice-friendly. Set up an isolated lab, use known samples, take snapshots, and you can learn a ton safely. Read through this section, and you'll be ready for the wrap-up questions. What would you call a team of cybersecurity professionals that monitors a network and its systems for malicious events? Security Operations Center. What does DFIR stand for? Digital Forensics and Incident Response. Which kind of malware requires the user to pay money to regain access to their files? Ransomware. Answer the 3 questions here at the bottom, press Submit to send. And with that, you have finished task number 2. Now, task 3 gives you a practical example of defensive security, a day in the life of a SOC analyst. Start by reading the intro on SOC analysts and what a SIEM, Security Information and Event Management, is. That dashboard we mentioned earlier is usually the SIEM. It centralizes logs from across the environment and raises alerts when something looks unusual. Click View Site to open the day in the life of a junior SOC analyst demo. You'll see a simplified SIEM dashboard like what you'd use on the job. Inspect the alert and identify the malicious IP address. Look for something like an unauthorized connection attempt. Copy that IP and scan it to confirm whether it's malicious. If the scan indicates malicious activity, report the IP and escalate the event to your SOC team lead. Once you have approval, implement the block rule so the IP can't reach your network again. After completing the steps, copy the provided flag, submit it, and you're done with Task 3. With Tasks 1 to 3 finished, you've completed TryHackMe's Intro to Defensive Security Room. Keep the momentum going with the next lesson, Search Skills. If this walkthrough helped, consider liking and subscribing.